Welcome to the Breakthrough RE Elite Agent Spotlight, where we speak with some of the best and brightest in the real estate industry to help inspire, elevate, and innovate your real estate business. I'm your host, Kole Finley, principal owner of Finley RE Coaching and Consulting. All right, let's get to it. Welcome, everybody. I am so happy that you are with us. I am really excited about our topic today. It's Family First, crafting a successful real estate career on your terms. It's all about something that's near and dear to so many agents, and that is balancing work and family. And today, oh my goodness, we have a wonderful guest who has taken this to a whole new level. So her name is Jessica Ward, and Jessica is a realtor in the Seattle, Tacoma, Washington area, and has been in real estate since 2013. And she is a rainmaker for a small team and holds a managing broker's license. Oh, that's so good for her. Prior to real estate, she worked in public policy for a large trade association and did political fundraising and professional lobbying, as well as political organizing. Ooh, I love all that. So Jessica believes in working to live, not living to work, and chose real estate as a career to provide greater flexibility, especially since she is the parent of three and a grandparent of one. Oh my goodness. So, by the way, listen to this. Jessica volunteers too much, and she wouldn't have it any other way. It's what she told me. She's involved in refugee causes that are focused on bringing clean water and education to war-torn and impoverished places around the world. And she sits on the board of the Bright Star Girls Academy Foundation to build and operate the Bright Star Girls School in South Sudan. And if that's not enough, she is also involved in adoption-related organizations, the Girl Scouts, and the PTA. Welcome, Jessica. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am so good. Man, I am so excited that you decided to join me on this today because you have such an extraordinary story, and I really want people to hear it. You know, you're kind of one of those people that really helps us understand the possibility of what can take place in real estate and your business. And you are such an extraordinarily busy woman that I really wanted everybody to kind of hear your story. So maybe we start here. I know you truly have a passion for helping people. Maybe you could take us back a little bit before real estate. I know you have kind of this pedigree. Have you always kind of been in this service oriented mindset? Walk us through that just a little bit, would you?
Yeah, I think that was part of my family culture. I was just raised in a family that was very, very active in our community, and we volunteered and we were involved in a lot of like youth organizations. I was homeschooled, so we had a lot of time for volunteering and other activities and things like that. My parents were political activists, so we were involved in politics from a very, very young age, like 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, and then there was always different volunteer things over the years as a kid, and then that just is something we carried on. When my big kids were little, we did a lot of adoption education. We adopted big
Mm,
kids, and so I would go and
wow.
speak to other groups of families about what that's like, and
Mhm.
um, teach some classes and that sort of thing.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
maybe you could walk us through a little bit about the adoption of the kids, right? So you kind of, first of all, when did that start? How did that start? And what's that been
Well,
like?
good question. So, when I was a kid, my parents had been foster parents, so we often had extra kids in the house. And that was a really kind of formative time for me,
Mhm.
and I could see the difference that that made. My husband and I had decided before we got married that we were interested in adopting, and I had medical problems that indicated that was a good idea.
Okay.
So we adopted our oldest 2 years after we got married, I think. She was 7 years old. We adopted her from
Oh,
Florida. And then a few years later, we adopted our middle girl from Ethiopia. She was 3.
wow.
So they are 26 and 18 now.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Destiny might
gosh.
be 27 now that I think about it. I think she's 27. So 27, 18. And then we had our surprise bonus baby. She is 8 now. Um, yeah. So that's we've had parenting kind of across spectrums. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness gracious. What an extraordinary story that is. By the way, I just think it's so amazing that you decided to adopt older kids.
they need it.
Yeah, yeah. And I wish more people were like you, because that would always be, they need it so much. No, so is that kind of, so were you in that public policy realm when you were adopting kids? Did that affect anything?
Yeah, yeah. When we adopted the oldest, I was still working as a lobbyist, worked for a trade association. I loved the job. I loved the people, loved the clients, but I was working like 100 hours a week during
Mhm,
like legislative sessions. And then, then there was election season. So there's like legislative season in the winter and election season in the autumn. And it was just really, really long days and really long commutes.
mhm,
And we struggled, our oldest had some challenges, and we struggled with like getting her to all the like providers she needed, and childcare and all that stuff.
mhm,
And we're in that. I moved to a private sector job, went to work for one of my clients for a little while,
mhm,
and still kind of ran into the same things. Like I couldn't be the present mom that I really needed to be.
mm.
And my husband was bearing a lot of the parenting load because he worked nights and was most available during the day, but that meant he got no sleep.
Wow,
So that's not
sure.
good. Um, so that's what kind of led me to decide I needed to start my own business. And I started a different business first. I started a mobile notary service. This is during the like Great Recession and all the
Mhm,
refinances that were happening, right? So
right.
that was a good piece of business for me in that time. And then I realized that that business wasn't scalable,
Mhm,
and went
mhm.
into real estate for looking for a scalable self-employment opportunity where I wasn't necessarily buying myself a job.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, flexibility then, obviously. That's why so many
Yes.
agents really get into the business. It's 2013. Wow. So we were just almost getting out of the recession at that point. So a
Hmm.
lot of people were still getting out and you were getting in.
Hmm.
Great. All right. So
I didn't know
now
any better, so that's good.
you're still there. Okay. So you've got teenagers at home at this point in time.
Yeah, our oldest would have been like 14, 14, 15-ish,
Right. Right.
like that. Yeah.
Okay. So now you've started this business. And there are so many agents. I mean, this is really such a common challenge for so many agents, because they get into real estate, they want to build a business because of flexibility, and they realize that there is a lot to building the business. So now you've got teenagers at home and you're going into a brand new business. What was the experience like there? Maybe walk us through your beginnings as a real estate agent.
Um, well, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was lucky to have landed at a great firm where they had some really good training.
Mhm.
I parked myself next to the photocopier because I figured anybody who was going to the printer a lot probably knew what they were doing. So I could just like raise my
Right.
hand and ask a question, which I did. So
Perfect.
yeah, I'm still at the same firm, and some of those same people that answered my questions then are still answering my questions now. Um, so so yeah, that I got to my classes in the daytime, did my lead gen, after school pickup and homework, and
Wow.
that was kind of how we did it.
Talk to us a little bit about time management then, because probably in the prior career, you had to have a lot of skill set on time management. Now you're going into real estate. And what I just heard you say, in my own maybe hallucination, is that that's what you got really good at, was managing your time. Am I right on that?
Yeah, time management has always been a big piece of my world. I'm fortunate that I have a husband who's a great partner in all things.
Hmm.
And he's the guy that takes care of the grocery shopping and the dinner making and starts the homework routine, and I can work and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, we always kind of have a list of like what's the most important thing that has to get done, that one thing list, right?
Right, right.
So we just can follow that, and I don't know, I feel like I was trained early to do that. So
Ah, so prioritization, and that's interesting because you said the one thing.
Mhm.
It's not like the five things or the 10 things. It's the
It's the
one
one
thing.
thing that's appropriate in the moment. And sometimes people are like, oh, lead gen is my one thing. I must do my lead gen. But if it's 5 o'clock, it might be that dinner time with your kids is the one thing.
Right.
And lead gen can go. If I didn't get it done, it doesn't matter. 5 o'clock is dinner time. We do really early dinner time because my husband works at night. Sometimes I will go back to work, but everybody's at the kitchen table for dinner. We've always done that.
Wow. Wow. And yeah, and focused on that.
Yeah.
So prioritization of not only the business, but actually you're prioritizing family
Family first.
above everything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So walk me through how that's possible. Okay, so you've got this business. You're growing a team. We're not quite at the team state yet, but you made some very conscious decisions about time through your day that it sounds like it was kind of non-negotiable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of saying no. Um, to the point that like some people joke, like, how come you're never at the staff meeting, the office staff meeting? Like, it's not my one thing. Like, I'm so sorry. I'd love to be there. There's a lot of things I'd love to be doing, and it's not a priority for me right now.
Wow. Okay, that's a skill set that so many agents can't do. Right there, I hear that so often, especially when I'm starting with a brand new client. And one of the things that they'll say is, I just have such a hard time saying no. What would your advice be to them on that?
Oh, ask yourself what your priorities are, and does the thing that you are wanting to say no to or considering saying no to, is it something that will move you closer to priorities? I
Mm.
volunteer too much. I say it all the time. I've restructured my volunteering in a way that puts me around the people that, one, I want to be around, and
Mhm.
two, that there's some crossover in my business, right? So I'm doing a little bit more
Mm.
local volunteerism. Um, but the um trying to think of the best way to say, I think the most important thing is to like look at your week and say, how many hours do I want to work? Because we can easily say, oh, I have 150 hours worth of things to do this week. Well, that's not all happening. So you better pick the ones that are going to move you forward.
I love it. Okay, so instead of choosing the thing, you choose the time first.
Time, yeah. Because
Ah.
if you don't have a time for it, it can't get done, right? And then I follow a color-coded calendar.
Oh, woman after my own heart. Like if it's a spreadsheet or if it's my calendar, there's got to be color coding on it, or it
Yes,
doesn't go.
yes. Last year, I had a very complicated schedule with the kids, and we had the entire day from 5 a.m. to midnight broken down in 15-minute increments, color coded. And I had to follow that almost the entire year. We had three kids in three different schools, two kids with after school jobs, and I was the shuttle for everything. So I had 5 hours, and you better believe it was lead generation, and that was it.
Oh my
All I could
goodness.
do.
Yeah, I
Five
bet.
hours a week. So were we growing the team that year? Nope, we weren't. I knew this was short term. This was my priority. I was going to make sure my two graduates graduated. Um, and that was what we were focused on.
I hope everybody can hear the processes that you're laying out right here, right? Because what I'm hearing is, okay, first of all, you start with choose the hours.
Yes.
So it's about life first
Yes.
and then the business. So now you got choose the hours. It sounds to me like you're prioritizing family first.
Mhm.
And then you started saying, okay, how can I do the things that are necessary to do to build the business within that time frame? Did I miss anything there?
No, I think you're on the right track. Well, I mean, we know that all work expands the time allowed, right? So if you
Yeah.
had to get your full-time job done in 5 hours because you're going to Maui tomorrow, you'd figure it out, right?
Absolutely.
So, and
Great point.
everything is a season, right? I knew last year was going to be a disaster area with all the commitments I had for the kids, but they knew that was a short-term commitment. I'll do this to get you through graduation. I knew it was a short, there was an expiration date on that level of commitment,
Mhm.
and we all worked together to make it happen. Um, and some things just went on the do later list. Sometimes it's not no, it's just not now.
Mm, I love that. Okay, so you've just got a pretty much the tribe is all aligned together. Your husband's aligned together, kids aligned together. There's a clear expectation of achieving goal within a time frame.
Mhm.
Am I getting that so far?
Yeah, we got to teach them how to do this early.
Yeah. There you go. They'll be just as good as you at it. I love that. Okay, so saying no, prioritizing time first, family first, then getting the things done in the time allowed. Okay. So now we're there. Maybe you could take us through, now you decided to start a team.
Mhm.
First of all, when did the team happen? Let's start
Mm,
there.
one of the reasons that I got into real estate, in addition to like wanting to be more present with the kids, is I was struggling in a really big way with my health. I have an autoimmune condition that sometimes flares up in big
Mhm.
ways and can take me out for a year, year and a half.
Wow.
And I needed to know that I could reduce my involvement in the business if I
Mhm.
needed to
Mhm.
and still have a business, right?
Right.
So in Washington, we have to have 3 years of real estate experience to get a managing broker's license. I actually had done some corporate leasing in the past, so I was able to get that done in 2 years.
Great.
So I started the team at 2 years
Oh,
into
amazing.
real estate.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Most agents think they can't even start selling real estate for 2 years, that they can't close anything. You're building a team by then. Wow. Okay. So now you've started the team 2 years in.
Mhm.
How did that help balance what you're doing? Or did you find more responsibility because you were growing a team?
No, there's definitely more responsibility. Like the early stage of growing a team is like you have to do the whole lead gen job of your own role, right? Plus lead gen for agents, plus train agents, right? And this is a spot where because I've stepped in and out of my business at different levels a few different times, in my career, I spent a lot of time in that growth zone, and it is hard.
Right.
It's just hard. It's a lot of work before you start seeing the synergy and growth.
Wow. Okay. So there has to be a vision there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In order to get you through the day. So it sounds like you had a vision for the family,
Hmm.
had a vision for the girls.
Hmm.
You had a vision for, and you're still volunteering this whole time.
At different levels. Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes more than others. Yeah.
Okay. So kids, a little bit of volunteering, building the business, and everything's got its own goal set of goals, I should say it that way.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're working simultaneous goals. How do you do that? So walk us through how you can manage something like that.
Mm. I use 411 and GPS. I
Okay.
use GPS for everything.
So for everyone, just let everybody remind everybody. So Jessica's talking about two different systems, and they are called the 135, which actually is a strategy plan. And
Mhm.
there's a 411, which stands for 4 weeks, 1 month, 1 year, and that is an action plan. So basically, you're putting a strategy plan together for everything, then you're putting an action plan together, and you're following the action plan, and then time blocking it, I would imagine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a long time, longer than I care to admit, before I connected the dots that was like the last step was to calendar those things. Like, oh, this works better now.
I so get that. It's interesting because when I'm coaching agents, I coach to the strategy plan, action plan, the time plan.
Yeah.
And so many of them go backwards.
Hmm.
They say, well, I got to fit all this stuff into my calendar. And so how do I put it in my action plans? Okay, hang on a second. Let's start with a strategy.
Yeah.
What are the things that are taking priority that you're going to be focusing on this year in order to hit that, to create action, follow that action plan. Now it's got to get on your calendar every single week. And we even do a time plan before that. That sounds like what you got. You got a lot of processes, and that's what I'm hearing. Are you just kind of that process person?
No.
Okay.
No, but it is a learned necessity in a household where my husband and I have been married for 22 years. We have always worked different shifts. So having written communication, written objectives, following a calendar, because we don't get a chance to talk on that stuff, um, that's what we do. It goes on the calendar. So the calendar is like the keeper of all the things. Um, my calendar is a trip. But when the calendar is the keeper of the things, then you're asking yourself, like, do I do this? Is it in my priorities or not? And then that's a pretty easy thing to work backward into.
Wow. Okay. So you've just had kind of this forced process, and it's just ended up working, and then it paid off at home and then in your business.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's imperfect, right? Like the things I let go are, self-care, right? And I'm getting better about that.
Nope.
But yeah, there's always fine tuning.
You know
Yeah.
what? I always talk about massive and perfect action. And the people the
Yes,
most successful in this business take massive and perfect action.
that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
just do more louder, right? That's
Just do more louder.
kind of how we need to do it.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk us through some of those things that are near and dear to your heart, especially about some of your big volunteering initiatives. I'd love to hear more about that.
Oh man. So I've been involved in, well, since adopting our girl from Ethiopia, we've been involved in East African causes for a long
Mm,
time. One of my particular areas of passion is clean water, because clean water allows buildings to be built, schools to function, children to learn, children to be healthy.
mhm,
Just clean water is the keystone to everything. So I
mhm.
became a water educator um, many years ago, like I don't know, 15 years ago. Went to
Wow.
Sudan and Ethiopia to teach people how to build water purification systems.
Wow.
And now still involved in, the South Sudan, they recently got independence. I'm still involved in that because many of my friends are South Sudanese. So we have been building a girls' school, me and several of my friends uh, from our kids' friends, right? These are people I met through like adoption circles and Girl Scouts and things like that a long time ago when my big kids were little, and we all wanted to like still hang out. So we decided we'd come up with a project, and we have decided to start this girls' school in Sudan. So a couple years ago, we bought land. This year, we're raising funds to put in a well so that we can start construction on the school next year.
Mhm.
And our belief behind that is the key to world peace is educated women. Like men
Oh,
have their chance.
yes.
Men have their
Bravo.
chance. So,
Brava. I should say.
yes, so we are educating young women in a place where the literacy rate is the lowest in the world.
Wow.
Um, and the hope that this provides an alternative to child marriage, and the exporting of young people out of Africa,
Mhm,
which is, there's in places where there's limited economic opportunity, a lot of times people are forced to go overseas and
mm.
separate families. So the hope is that we can keep families together and educate girls and create greater opportunities for them.
I love that. I love that. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
the people who are listening are women right now, so I can hear them uh in the distance applauding you.
Oh, I'm trying to think of some of the other things we do, definitely involved in adoption circles. My youngest is 8. She goes to a private school, and we are super involved in the school, partly because they require it. There's certain volunteer hours you have to commit to have your
Sure.
kid in the school there. So we're pretty involved. And then she's involved in Girl Scouts, and I'm the cookie mom because I did not know what I was signing up for. So, so right now, 3 nights a week are cookies at my house. We did about $20,000 worth of cookies out of the garage on the weekend.
Oh my
Those
goodness.
Girl Scouts, they got an operation going on.
Yeah, they do.
So, um, and then the last thing that we started doing a few years ago, when our oldest daughter moved out, our house was a little too big. It's not a big house, but we had this extra space that we weren't using, and we signed up to host refugees. Um, we had decided, okay, we're not fostering anymore, we're not adopting anymore, we're on to the grandparenting stage. And we got a call asking if we would take an unaccompanied minor who'd been evacuated from Kabul alone.
Mhm,
And they said, it's just for 3 weeks. He'll turn 18. We'll give him an apartment. Great. Absolutely. Bring him on over.
mhm,
We have hosted like exchange students in the past, and we have experience with trauma because of the bigger kids. And so they asked if we would apply specifically for hosting a minor, which had
mhm.
not been on our radar. I didn't even know that was a thing. Unaccompanied minor refugees. I did not know that was a thing. And my
Wow,
worldview changed when I learned that.
I bet.
Um, so anyhow, it's been 2 years. He's still with us, and he's absolutely part of the family now. Um, so it's been a really, really neat experience to be involved with refugee hosting. it's just made our perspectives bigger.
Wow. Wow.
Been a good experience for the kids too.
I bet it has. I bet
Yeah.
it has. Such an extraordinary story you have, Jess.
Oh,
Such an
thanks.
extraordinary story. Now, are you still building the team as well, or kind of where does that at right now?
Yeah, so last year we had a couple people leave. They went on to do some other things. Um, and we have one agent on the team right now. We are looking to add a couple this year, 2 to 3. But last year I had decided, no, this is not the time to grow. We had the 2 kids about to graduate from high school and helping one with English and all of
Sure.
that stuff. It was very time intensive at home.
I bet. I bet. Okay, so now you're growing.
Now we're growing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we've got agents who are listening to this.
Mhm.
What kind of advice would you give someone who's really kind of trying to build that business and trying to learn how to balance family and work and still be a business owner?
Sure. I think in our business, it's totally my opinion, and it totally might be wrong. I think that in our business, we spend a lot of time on things that aren't important. I haven't updated my buyer's presentation in 5 years. And you know what? Nobody cares. And the update before that was 7 years before. So nobody cares. Sometimes I forget to take it. Nobody cares. Um, so I think that we spend time on stuff we just don't need to do. Find the thing that works and don't spend time fixing it. Like just do it until it becomes obvious that it needs a change.
Mhm,
We don't need to proactively tinker on stuff.
mhm,
I think also we tend to be a little bit impatient.
mhm,
And so that keeps us moving between, oh, I'm going to work this kind of lead, I'm going to do that kind of thing. And then we don't give anything enough time to kind of cook
mhm.
and test,
Right.
So I think it's important to collect your data, follow your data,
Mhm,
give everything time, and then just focus on the most important stuff.
mhm. I agree with that. I always talk about time on task over time.
Yes.
So give it time until you've
Yeah.
absolutely proven that it doesn't work. There's a real interesting question that I learned from somebody when they were hiring before, and I love the question. It says, "How long would you be willing to fail before you stop doing something?"
You ever see somebody get into real estate and not close anything for 7 months and get out? And you see somebody else get into real estate for 7 months and then close 11 units in month 8?
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Like, there's just a point. And like, yes, there's also a point when you're sitting there asking yourself, like, okay, when do I cut bait, right? Like, when do I give up and say this isn't working? But if you've collected your data, have you made the calls? Have you made your contacts? Have you built your database? Like,
Hmm.
are you moving things forward?
Hmm.
If you're consistently moving forward, you just got to sit and trust the process.
Absolutely. Trust the process. I love this phrase. Don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So,
Favorite book is It Takes What It Takes. Um,
mhm.
if you haven't read that,
I
it
have
was
not.
Russell Wilson's mindset coach, Trevor Moawad, that wrote that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And to give a real estate analogy, it's like you need to get 7 appointments. Okay, you need 7 appointments. How many calls does it make? Doesn't matter. Get 7 appointments. Like, you don't stop calling till you have the seven
7 appointments.
appointments.
Oh, I
So
love that. I love that. Well, what a great way to grow. Okay, so any last parting wisdom for our listeners here?
spreading wisdom. Use your calendar. It's your greatest leverage tool.
Mhm.
And then in order for great work-life balance, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. My business is over leveraged and I have great partners in my business, and that's what gives me time. I
Mhm.
have fantastic admin, fantastic transaction coordinator, fantastic ISA.
Mhm.
Um, are we top heavy? If you look at the models, yes, we have a little bit too much and can't grow without that. And I
Mhm.
can't have the balanced lifestyle, flexibility, and all that I want without that.
Mhm. Takes your tribe to grow.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Jessica, thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy day and sharing your amazing stories with us and with our listeners. And by the way, and thank you for our listeners. For those of you who are trying to grow your business, our systems at Breakthrough RE Elite Agent Academy have empowered hundreds of agents to unlock massive growth and take control of their time, just like Jessica is talking about. So if you'd like to learn more, feel free to email me at Kole@finley-re.com. That's Kole @Finley, FINLEY-RE for real estate.com. And let's chat. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. So go out and make it an inspiring day.